Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Ben Whitehair, SAG-AFTRA's Executive Vice President. Thank you all so much for joining another SAG-AFTRA program on YouTube. To stay current with all of our video events, we invite you to subscribe to this channel, which you can even do right now. We are joined today by American Sign Language interpreters Romina Mena and Mara Bassani Santa Maria. As a reminder, today's program is being recorded so you can watch the replay on SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel, along with a bunch of other wonderful content. Today, we present the PTEOE, President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement program, a crash course on SAG-AFTRA's Influencer Agreement. Social media has become an integral part of our lives, and in the process created a new media industry powered by talented content creators and personalities. These pioneers built an entirely new way to promote products and services, creating ways to put brands and products in front of consumers. Like many of us in the entertainment industry, influencers are gig workers. And though many have what looks to their followers like a charmed or glamorous life, just like other gig workers, they often lack important rights and productions. So SAG-AFTRA's Influencer Agreement was created in response to the unique nature of influencer-generated branded content and offers a new way for influencers to work under a SAG-AFTRA agreement, helping them gain access to benefits of union coverage. We're going to take a closer look at this agreement and are lucky enough to have Shaine Griffin as our guide to the ins and outs of the Influencer Agreement. Shaine is instrumental in commercial and influencer strategy at SAG-AFTRA and comes to this work with a very real passion for how talent and advertisers are navigating new and emerging platforms. Shaine has spent many years exploring how influencers and SAG-AFTRA intersect and was instrumental in the development of the Influencer Agreement, which she now also administers. Shaine brings to her work experience in labor organizing, community organizing, and business affairs. Shaine, it is so wonderful to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us. Take it away.
Thanks, Ben. Really excited to be here today. So to start the slideshow, next slide, please. All right. Before we dive into what the Influencer Agreement is and how it works, I do want to spend a few minutes talking about how we got to where we are today and why it was so important that we develop the SAG-AFTRA Influencer Agreement, which is meant to cover branded work between an advertiser when created by the influencer for distribution on social media. So as Ben mentioned in the introduction, over the past many years, new technologies, particularly in the social media space, have really changed the world in which we live. Platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and so forth have not only brought people together in new ways, but have also had a great impact on how advertisers are now reaching potential consumers. And one of these new ways in which advertisers are accomplishing this is by partnering with folks who have amassed a substantial following on social media, ranging from a few hundred to 1 million followers, but are able to impact or influence their followers' purchasing decisions. And these are the people we commonly refer to as influencers or content creators. So as this area of work opportunity increased over the past many years, we also noticed that more and more of our SAG-AFTRA membership were starting to work in this space, which is commercial in nature. And prior to the introduction of the Influencer Agreement, we're sometimes struggling in getting this work covered under a SAG-AFTRA contract. So we wanted to find a path forward. Next slide, please. So in setting out to create a brand new pathway for the SAG-AFTRA coverage in this commercial space, that would make sense for this community, we consulted an incredible array of folks, everywhere from talent, of course, but managers, agents, brands, PR agencies, you name it, anyone who is in this space, we talked to them because we wanted to develop something that was true to how this work is being done and would serve this community. So first and foremost, we decided after thoughtful consideration that we really wanted to protect the ability of talent to work with brands at all levels and all follower counts, which is why we left compensation open to negotiation under the Influencer Agreement. And we felt that regardless of whether you're commanding $1,000 or $1 million for your brand deals, you deserve the ability to cover your work under a union contract and earn towards things like your benefits eligibility. So for those who are not yet SAG-AFTRA members who are working in this space, we also wanted to build a pathway for folks to join our community when they're covering their brand deals under this SAG-AFTRA agreement. Next slide. But what I really want to emphasize is that we had to get quite thoughtful in how we approach this type of work in which the talent is essentially a one-stop shop for advertisers. In many of these types of deals, talent are hired to execute a variety of services such as the performance, the creative, the filming, the posting, the photography, the distribution of this content, which encompasses both jurisdictional work, meaning video or voiceover, and non-covered services like the stills, the posts, the tweets, and so forth. So let's see. Next slide, please. Because these influencers are essentially acting as both the performer and ad agency when engaged in this type of work, our agreement really had to honor that unique dynamic. So let's dig into how this thing actually works. The first step is that talent and advertiser will negotiate the terms of their partnership. Once the contract is finalized, talent will go to the SAG-AFTRA website where they will upload a copy of their agreement through our online portal for staff review. And once staff makes sure everything looks good and like it's a proper fit for what's allowed under the SAG-AFTRA influencer agreement, we'll contact the influencer and assist them with how to move forward in remitting pension and health contributions for the project. Super simple process, which we'll walk you through shortly. But I do recommend, next slide, please, that anyone interested in using the influencer agreement for coverage for these types of projects, familiarize yourselves with what we require inside of the actual talent agreement between the influencer and brand so that it can fit under the SAG-AFTRA influencer agreement. Because we created fences that are really meant to help protect the talent and also ensure that no other covered work area is being violated. So one of the first things we look at upon review of these talent agreements is whether the project truly fits into what we consider influencer-generated sponsored content, meaning that the influencer is solely responsible for, again, what we talked about before, the creative, the production, the performance, and the distribution of the branded content for distribution on their own and or the brand's social media feeds. The content, of course, has to include that on-camera video and or behind the microphone voiceover performance, but can also include those static in-feed stills, that other content that's not covered. So if there's an in-person appearance or anything else of that nature, that can also be part of the overall agreement. We also require that the influencer is alone in the content and they are not including any additional people who may or may not know that they are now part of a promotional project. And of course, all of this has to be outlined in an actual signed contract with the advertiser so we can ensure that these fences are in place with how the work will be exploited. We also require that the influencer have a business or corporate entity such as an LLC in order to sign the project to our SAG-AFTRA influencer agreement. One of the ways that this agreement differs from our traditional commercials contract is that the influencer will use their own business entity as a signatory for the project and be able to remit that pension and health contributions directly. And finally, one of the greatest protections we insist on under the influencer agreement is that the talent needs to retain ownership of the content they are creating. What we don't want is for the brand to own the content and be able to do whatever they want with it without performer consent and proper compensation. So for example, we don't want a person to be hired for a promotional social post for $3,000 when the brand intends to use that content and create television ads for no additional compensation and without union coverage and protection. Next slide. Now, looking at it from a little different perspective, some things we explicitly look out for in these contracts that we don't allow are first and foremost the involvement of an outside entity in the production of the content. Again, the influencer is like a one-stop shop for these advertisers, so we don't want third-party involvement. We also want to ensure that the content will not migrate to areas outside of social media and include casts of people or groups that are not being compensated for their exposure. And of course, we take safety very seriously and don't allow for any stunts or hazardous work or nudity or sexually explicit material unless directly related to the product or service. And lastly, we pay careful consideration that any brand partner that is already signatory to the commercials contract cover this content under their own special provision, similar to the influencer agreement, but called the influencer waiver. Next slide. So I just threw a lot at you folks, but I really do want to take 1 minute to walk you through how incredibly easy this process is. So if you'll just follow me, actually, I will share my screen with you all. So bear with me as I get that up and going. So the first thing I said you would do after you have a signed copy of that talent agreement with the advertiser is you will come over to SAGAFTRA.org and you will go over to the influencer resource page, which is located right here under contracts and industry resources. Click right there. And here is a plethora of material that is so valuable for folks to peruse at your own leisure. But once you're ready to actually move forward with covering this project, come here and you will click Submit Your Project. Once you are there, and I pre-populated this for you so you don't have to watch me type, everyone, you will put in your basic information, including the project title, the advertiser, your name, your channel or handle, your business entity's name, ID number. I clearly used my dog as the example here and made up some other information. She does not live at 123 Treats Avenue. But just to show you how simple that process is, once you're at the bottom of the page, you will click Browse Files, and that's where you will upload a copy of your signed talent agreement. And then you will click Next. On the next page, this is where we help you determine the pension and health contributions amount. So let's say that your brand deal is $10,000 in total, and you want to cover your work at the minimum amount of 20% for your on-camera services, because we recognize you're doing both SAG-AFTRA jurisdictional work and non-covered services. This will spit out the math for you for what will be owed to pension and health. And I walk everyone through how that looks and how those contributions are made when you submit. So you are not alone. You will always have someone to guide you. Click Next. And right here, the terms and conditions of this agreement will be available. You will scroll down, hopefully read everything. You will sign, date, and sign right here again. And a copy of this will be emailed to you and made available so you can read again at your leisure. Stop share. And I go through all of that because I really want to show how simple this is, but that you will be then protected under a SAG-AFTRA agreement and be able to earn towards your pension and health, which is so incredible. I'm always here to assist. If none of that made sense, reach out directly at influencer@sagaftra.org and we will take it from there. But Ben, I do appreciate the time to go over all of that. I know it was a lot. So
absolutely. Shaine, so helpful. We have a couple questions that have come in from members. First question, this member says, I'm a creator, or maybe not a member. I'm a creator with about 27,000 followers on Instagram, and I often get offered various brand deals through my DMs, no contracts usually. Is it required that I have a contract with the brand in order to use the influencer agreement?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've actually heard that one a few times. Yes, we do require that there be a contract. And aside from, the SAG-AFTRA influencer agreement, it is best practice to have outlined the terms and conditions of any project you're doing with an employer.
I often think of contracts as, in a way, they're like insurance, like our car insurance. Yeah. Hopefully you never need it and you don't need it the majority of the time. But then when you do need it, it's so important to have that. So I know that that's part of both supporting the community in making sure that they're protected, and so that if there are issues, that there's something there to be able to enforce.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Next question. This person says, I noticed that there are no minimum rates under the SAG-AFTRA influencer agreement. Why is that?
So we actually left rates completely negotiable intentionally, because again, we wanted to make sure that brand deals were accessible under the influencer agreement at any level of follower count engagement. We also recognize that deals look and feel very different depending on what the advertiser is asking of talent. So right now, we left it open. We might revisit that as rates kind of stabilize in the market, but it was really, really intentional that we left this opportunity open to the entire community so it could serve everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see that even as a parallel to the actor performer community, where, you know, your first jobs may be little to no pay, but they still matter and they're still a big part of the career, and building up that portfolio. I mean, I work in social media, and I see that happening all the time, where people are, you know, just getting started or finally hitting a follower count, where they might be able to start doing some deals, but they may be on the lower end of the pay scale as we build up to hopefully the equivalent of, you know, our celebrity members and millions of followers, where we can start to command even more money. Question that we had: have people actually been using this agreement? What is the success or not that we've been seeing with the influencer agreement since it's been rolled out?
It has been wildly successful. Without the numbers in front of me, which I don't know if I'm allowed to share, it has been wildly successful in terms of helping folks who are making, you know, those few $100s all the way to the folks who command those millions of dollars. So we have people across the entire community coming forward and saying, hey, help me cover this work, which is wonderful, not only for them, but also for, you know, making this entire SAG-AFTRA community that much stronger as entertainment, you know, and advertising evolve.
Yeah, and we continue to see the lines blur in content, and to me, really being able to tap into the creativity of our members and our future members in the community, to be able to do it and to be compensated, be able to do it under a union contract, to have the support of the union. I love that. All right, last question. They write, I am a longtime SAG-AFTRA member, and a few years ago created a YouTube channel with my friend. We do brand deals now and then, but I guess my question is, would we be allowed to use the influencer agreement? I noticed that it says only available to individuals. So can you clarify for this person, I mean, YouTube and the different, you know, places that people are securing brand deals, and the clarification around available to individuals and how that works?
I love that. Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit more, and with the caveat that, you know, every deal will look different. So please come to us for individual scenarios. We'll walk you through that. But if you and your partner on YouTube have a business or corporate entity together, so jointly owned, and you are engaging in brand deals together for that channel, you can absolutely access the influencer agreement. So contact us, influencer@sagaftra.org, to sound like a broken record, and we can get you started.
I love that. I love that. And to clarify, this would be, people can use this for different social platforms, right? So whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, because I know people often have, you know, a particular platform that they're having success on. But so wherever that is, reach out, because this may very well be for you.
Absolutely. And I'm sure in 2 weeks from now, there'll be another platform that we will include to that list. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we'll bring you back for our presentation on the metaverse in the near future. Shaine, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and walking us through some of the crucial elements of the influencer agreement. As a reminder to everyone watching, this presentation is available as a replay on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it anytime, or grab that link, text it, send it on any of the social platforms to friends who may be interested. And on behalf of the whole team here at SAG-AFTRA, we thank you very much for watching. A special thanks to our regular viewers who've been tuning in each week for our PTEOE President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement Programs. As always, if you have ideas for topics you would like to see us cover, please shoot us an email, pteoe@sagaftra.org. And before we go, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel right here to get updates on all of the content we are posting. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.